Before exits, there's only what's being built, ideas still forming, products unfinished, companies that don't fully exist yet. I'm Aubrey G, AI product leader and ex-founder based in San Francisco, where the next wave of AI is being built right now. I sat down with 20 AI founders, not to talk about their wins, but to understand what they are actually doing, what problem they chose, how they think, what building looks like before anyone's paying attention. No headlines, no hype, just the work. This is Before Exits. Hey everyone, this is Aubrey. Welcome to Before Exits. This is a new series that I sit with the founders, builders, and researchers before the headline, before the acquisition, before IPO, and they are still at the stage of building. And today I invited Sudarshan Kamath. He is the founder and CEO of Smartlist AI. When everyone believes the bigger is better, they want the bigger fundraising, they want a bigger company, bigger AI models, Sudarshan is exploring something new. So do you want to tell us more about yourself, like your background, about Smartlist AI?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me here, everyone. I'm Sudarshan, founder of Smallest AI. By background, I'm a AI researcher, so I always loved writing code and engineering. So I've been writing code for the last 10, 15 years now. I started in AI in computer vision and then went into autonomous vehicles and self-driving. And so a lot of my understanding of AI comes from the self-driving way where we trained on video data. And then around 2023, 2024, I started exploring speech because voice AI was very exciting and it had a lot of similarities with video, but there was not a single human-like voice agent out there, right? Voice agent was very high latency, very robotic. And so we were one of the first to build a text-to-speech model called Lightning, which was one of the world's fastest text-to-speech model in 2024. That's how Smallest AI started. Today, almost 1.5 years later, we are like a voice-first, full-stack voice AI company. We go all the way up to the chipset level to optimize voice models for special chips. They can operate at a very cost-effective manner, all the way to having a speech-to-speech model that is more human-like and tries to mimic the human brain. So we are a research lab. We sell voice models to companies building voice agents.
Oh, great. So what stage is Smallest AI right now?
We are right now post-Series A.
Okay, and so you still have some customers like to using this?
Yeah, we have multiple enterprise customers,
wow.
very big ones using this, and we are growing quickly. Most of the enterprise customers are building something in voice. So it could be, let's say you are in meetings. So recording those meetings, you need a speech-to-text model, Pulse. It is state-of-the-art on the top quadrant of all the benchmarks like artificial analysis, and or you're building a customer support voice agent, and then you could use our text-to-speech model to give like human-like voice. Or you could also use our latest speech-to-speech model, Hydra, which is more powerful, emotional, etc. So that's how enterprises use
Got
it.
you. Like you mentioned that you started this idea in 2024. So that also the time that ChatGPT really come out and catch people's attention. So I wonder, is that the reason you start a company, or you start first and then see, oh, there's also generate AI that can help you?
Yeah, ChatGPT definitely made it clear that there are businesses that you can start that are purely started as a research project and then become something commercial and bigger. And they were the first at scale to do this in AI. I think they're the next biggest thing in the internet. So definitely help. But one of the things I did not agree on with all the sort of research labs approach was, hey, we're gonna just explore scaling laws and make models larger and larger. And that's gonna lead to general intelligence. So in 2023, 2024, everyone used to think that. And Smallest AI initially, while we were thinking of voice, etc. as use cases, the core research behind this was small models. We were trying to build small models that were more intelligent than LLMs, and we were thinking about what kind of architectures would that be, what kind of properties would those models have, and that's how we started. So ChatGPT definitely inspired us, but not in their direction, in fact, in the opposite direction.
Okay, that totally makes sense. Yeah, so I think your company's name catch my attention immediately when I see it. As I mentioned, many people is pursuing large or bigger, and you are doing the smallest. And also, I think it was approved more and more that a small model is preferred by a lot of people, right? So it's more affordable and it's lower cost. At what moment, like you realize, okay, the small model is the something we can provide better usage for the people?
Yeah, I think there are two things. One is taking a LLM, which is, let's say, 1 trillion parameters, and calling that a small model. That's fine, and you can specialize that model for a particular use case. So let's say you're building a customer support agent. You don't need a 1 trillion model that knows about how physics equations works to do customer support. So that's one. But more than that, fundamentally, even architecture-wise, we don't think LLMs are moving in the direction of human intelligence. What LLMs have done, they are definitely intelligent, but the intelligence can't be called as human intelligence. What they're doing is they're remembering a lot of information. So as you give more training data to LLMs, they're just putting all of that in the attention matrix, and then it will literally store that information in its weight. That's not how humans work. We don't store every single piece of information we see. We store only what's important. And so in our belief, the future is going to be this class of models where the models only store what is enough to be intelligent, and all the information is going to be stored in memory. So you're not going to have information stored in the model weights. And that's what's happening with today's LLMs. So those are two different types of small model concepts. We work more on the second one.
Got you. That makes sense. Let's imagine today is 2030 and you already make smallest AI a $1 trillion company. What do you think you did right to make that happen? Or you will do it right to make that happen?
I think we will change how user interfaces work. So there will be very few physical sort of user interfaces where you have to literally go and click and do a bunch of things. You can just tell the machine or the computer to do it, and then it will just listen to the instructions through voice. So if we have to become a very big company at this point of time, we're just gonna make machines interact with humans in the same way humans interact with each other.
Okay, so maybe in the future there is no keyboard. You can just use the voice input.
Yeah, I would definitely not say there will be like zero typing, and in fact, screens are important because you consume videos and things like that. But I do think a lot of interaction with computers and machines generally can happen through voice.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And I realized, so you were a researcher and then now you're like more businessman. So I think they definitely have different mindset, because researcher or scientists, they prioritize the accuracy or the truth. And then on the other side, the entrepreneur or like businessman, they pursue like the speed. Like, how do you balance these two? Do you see there are some hard moments that you need to trade off your scientist, the mind?
Yeah. No, I think this is something I'm learning constantly, because ideally you want that you do great research and you're going to get a lot of money. But that's not how it works. You need to do great research, you need to do great marketing, you need to do great product, you need to do great sales. And all of this has to work with the funds you have. Then you build a business. So today I spent most of my time on go-to-market. I barely spend any time on research, but I know what the teams are working on. I know what are the benchmarks. I know what are the challenges. I know what the data sets, the models being used, but I do not go to the nth level of depth and go and solve it. I do think sometimes great products begin as a research project, which you could have never imagined there was a commercial opportunity. But as a founder right now, my job is the technology is there and it's being built and it's great and it works. How can I distribute it and sell it and get value from it? So the people who are building the technology get paid, and then we can compete against the others in the market, right? So it is very difficult, and I think being a businessman is sometimes way more, I would say, difficult than being a researcher.
It's like very comprehensive skill sets.
Very comprehensive skill sets, and also there are so many ways to fail. Versus in research, sure, you could publish a paper and you would think that's success. But most of the times, if you publish a paper, no one cares for business. For business, you need to have profits at the end of the day so that you can start growing.
And do you enjoy like marketing or sales?
I think I'm not bad at marketing or sales. Do I want to do that day in, day out every single day? Probably not. I want to I am a researcher at heart.
Yeah,
I want to
okay.
go back to writing code and things like that. But I'm a person who chooses to do what is the most critical task necessary at any point of time for the company so that we can keep growing.
Yeah.
And so today, if our bottleneck is sales, I'm going to be doing sales. Tomorrow, if it is marketing, I'll do marketing, right? So as a founder, you're always at the place in the company which has the most problem, because if things are going fine, you don't need the founder.
Yeah, yeah. I have no doubt about your marketing skill because even though right now I work in AI company, most of the time I put my hands on building the product, working with my team. Yeah, and that's why your company really stand out when I think about, you talk about real-time transcription, I think, there's a company called Smallest, right? So I feel this might be something, the key of building a B2B company. You need to build a connection. You need to keep learning from others.
Yeah.
And then you keep getting what your customer, what they want. Sometimes they describe something in a very formal meeting. This is what we want, but what's the ender that the business need?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to discover.
Absolutely. And especially like when we were early, a lot of people started working with us, not because the product was great. The product was still being, but it's because of the founders, the people.
Yeah.
Right? So you connect with people and you're doing business with people. And so when you're early, it's extremely important to meet all your customers so that they know you and they can trust you and you understand what their burning problems are so that you can solve them.
Yeah, that's true. I feel a company is nothing else but a group of people. If you believe this person or this group of people, they can build the stuff, even they don't have it right now, but they will eventually make that happen.
Exactly. That's how OpenAI started.
Yeah. That's true. Cool. Let's shift the topic a little bit to other direction. I assume in your daily life, you hear the needs from customer. And on the other side, you also hear the needs from the investors. Can you describe me a time or in a circumstance you hear very conflicting voice from customer and investor?
Yeah, I think it happens all the time. And you can't blame the investors because it's your job as a founder to explain to the investors why what you're doing is important and then show proof by showing revenue when you invest in that.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you as a founder, let's say, communicate maybe that I'm going to build this and this is going to give me revenue in 2 months, but it happens in 3 months or 4 months, then the investors are like, oh, what happened? And so an example is we were focusing on getting on the benchmarks, all the public benchmarks, because one of the hypotheses we had was, okay, your model is great because we know in our internal benchmarks it's great. But to get on the external benchmarks, you have to put some effort. You have to go talk to the benchmarks, you have to list it, you have to maybe sometimes, they wouldn't even evaluate you without taking some money.
Yeah, most of this information is not the public.
It's
right?
not public.
Yeah.
The best benchmarks are not public. They have proprietary evaluation techniques. And so we invested in doing that. Now, a lot of times, some of the investors would come and say, hey, you guys are focusing a lot on benchmarks. Why is that really important, or should you go and talk to customers and solve it first? What we observed was that as soon as we got on top of benchmarks, our pitches became way better. We used to go to the customer and say, we are world number 1 in real-time transcription. Right now, if you go on the Google and search world's best speech-to-text model, smallest AI, if you go to artificial analysis, we are on the top quadrant. So you don't have to believe us. You could go check for yourself. And then the customer would be way more interested testing you out and so on. Right?
Yeah.
And it did initially look like we are not focusing on customers, but once that happened, it helped us get a lot more deals internally.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily conflicting. It's just maybe think about what is the overlap space, what you can do in this part and make both sides happy, but it's not necessarily very obvious like what needs to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm curious, what the investor value most at this moment for voice AI space? Is that the performance, the metrics you mentioned, or the way how you gain the customers, the numbers on the papers, the revenues? Yeah.
I think the revenue obviously is the most important, regardless of which industry you're on.
Yeah.
You ultimately have to be a real business and you have to make money and you have to make customers happy and then you have to get more customers, right?
Yeah.
And you have to grow quickly. So if you don't grow quickly, if you don't have revenue, then it does not make sense raising venture capital. But if your product is bad but your revenue is great, investors would not complain. They'll say, okay, get someone to fix your product, right? But they're not that worried.
Yeah.
But if your product is great but your revenue is bad, they're really worried. So it's always at the end of the day, a lot of companies these days are raising money to do just pure research without a business. And I think that's fine. Some people can pull that off, but everyone else has to do real business. And it is always better to have real business and not need external capital than try to burn money and then at the end of the day, everything goes wrong.
Yeah. Do you use like the similar approach, building connection with investor as you build with your business customer? Or like, because I assume investor also look at your personality, like what they can rely on you, right?
Yeah, I think with investors and customers, you're always pitching, right? You're pitching to your customers why your product is the best. You're pitching to your investors why they should invest. So that's common, that's similar. But I think what's different is that with customers, you are often a lot more real. You take feedback. You're not saying, hey, our product is great. Tell us where we are bad. Tell us what are the mistakes that we can fix that then you would pay us for that, right? So with customers, you want real customers with real problems who will give real feedback, right? Versus with investors, you want them to say, oh, these guys are the best. We're going to invest a lot of money and this money is going to grow. So that's the sort of difference. But the best investors, you can be real with them. You can tell them that, look, these are the gaps. We're going to bridge these gaps and we're going to get to this place. And that's how we are going to grow. And they will agree with you on the plan and they will help you execute.
Yeah. How's your hiring experience? So you build a team from 2 people to today, 30, 40 people. And then did you see any challenge or do you always see the right person on the right position?
No. I think initially when you're small and you can be very choosy about who you want to hire, you can have much better hiring rates. Okay, so initially, I think when we were building our team up to, let's say, the first 15 people, I think we only fired one person at that point of time. And that's because he was really bad. And then he told us the wrong thing, etc. But we also believe in firing quickly. So if it's not working out, we will let you go faster than we will wait for long. I think the problem happens as you become bigger, because as you become bigger, not everyone is directly reporting to you.
Yeah.
And so there is a big difference between how a founder operates and how others in a company operate. Generally, you don't want that to be the case, but there will be. I'm not saying they're bad or good. I'm just saying the style of working is
right. Yeah.
And at that point of time, you don't know how they are thinking of hiring, how they're thinking of performance. So oftentimes you'll see that some people have hired suboptimally and they are also okay with other folks being suboptimal. We don't want that. So our strong belief is to have best performing people across every single function. Whether it's customer support or sales or engineering or research, should have the best people, the most passionate people for the job. Otherwise, you use AI to automate it. Right? So as we have grown, it's not been easy. I would say we have let go of people from time to time and we keep the core people. The core people really like that because they like to work with really smart people. And at the end of the day, we don't want that culture to go away. Because if you keep getting people who are not good enough into the company, then the smart people get frustrated.
Because the fairness is not there.
The fairness is not there. Imagine like you want to, so the company has fixed amount of money, right? And then you want to pay smart people and then you're also paying this person. That is less money for the smart people. So if you did not pay this person, you could actually increase the salary of the smart people. So that's why it's really important to cut down on the wrong people as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think most founder I know, they definitely want to hire the best fit for their team because they need to move quickly. However, the challenge is they need to compete with the bigger company who has cash, right? Who can offer more. Then there might be some other incentive, like inside incentive they can provide to the candidates. What do you think you normally offer to them so they would like to have the passion work for your company, for your team?
Yeah, I think the good thing is we are one of the top sort of research labs in this space. And so we get a lot of inbound talent. So at least for us, the challenge has not been that we have to compete with someone else. Sometimes there are people who are working in big tech who are frustrated with their jobs. They're just looking for startup experience. So you get them. Sometimes there are people who I would say, they do not have the traditional degrees. So you don't have a PhD, so they're not getting a job in. But these guys are extremely smart, even without a PhD. And so we hired them. So you are looking for misfits, you're looking for those people who have not been found, and then they come to us naturally because that's how the team culture has been.
Oh, that's very interesting, because I assume for this type of people in a big company, the team might challenge, oh, this person doesn't have the diploma, right? The degree.
It doesn't matter. Like our team is very meritocratic. So there are a lot of people who have never went to college in the team, but they're really smart. They're really smart. They work with, are able to challenge them.
Oh, I'm not sure if it's right or not right, because recently I see more college dropouts students than like maybe 2-3 years ago.
Oh no, I have seen really stupid college dropouts and I've seen really smart college dropouts. So I think there are two reasons.
Yeah, makes sense. So are you dropout student?
No, I did drop out from my master's.
Yeah,
but
I realized that on your LinkedIn profile.
But that's still higher education, right? I still did my bachelor's from a really good college.
Yeah, is that top one in India?
Yeah, it's the top 1% of the IITs are like the top colleges in India. It's one of the top colleges. So I definitely got a great education. Again, at the end of the day, it's all self-learning. A lot of people still go to IITs, right?
Yeah.
But not everyone is smart even there. And a lot of people don't go to IITs and they are like really smart, right? So I think it's the same in the US. I've met so many folks at Stanford, or they are obviously been to the best colleges, but then I've seen folks from some random background, but they're really smart.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So from your background, you come to US for that master study, and then you decided to explore something else. I saw you have multiple product manager experience in the startup companies.
Yeah, I have done a lot of things. When I was young, I did not know what my passion was. Write code really well, but I did not want to write code just for the sake of writing code. I wanted a purpose.
Yeah, speaking of that, my first major, I chose also finance.
Okay.
But luckily, I wasn't selected.
Yeah, so I've studied engineering, but I tried finance after engineering through a course called CFA. It's a very popular course that you do for investment banking and things like that. Anyways, I hated it. So I've tried product management, because everyone told me at that time that product manager understands way more than a software engineer, right? Because they're looking at the organization as a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it was very clear that I wanted to do something in AI. And this is even before ChatGPT. I wanted to do something in AI because I enjoyed self-driving vehicles and training models and things like that. So I realized I wanted to train models, but at the same time, not at a big company. I wanted to figure out, how can this become a business? How can this provide some value? And what can I do to make something out of this that's bigger than a job? So that's how Smallest AI started.
Oh, very amazing.
At the end of the day, I think being a founder, you have to do it consistently and you have to do it full time.
Yeah.
If you're doing it part time, I mean, the idea could be great. You could be the right person, but if you don't take the risk and do it full time, I think, I've also had many failed, and all of that was because I made the same mistakes, right?
I think you are right. Yeah. The thing make me give up, just too many problem to solve.
Yeah.
Like I said, you need to consistently solve every problem.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, do you ever have the thoughts like saying, oh, if this one doesn't get solved, I just find another job with a big salary? Have you ever had that thought? Or you said there's no backdoor?
Well, so you could make yourself believe that there's no backdoor, but the reality is, if the startup does not work out, you will get a job anywhere you want, right? So I don't think people choose to be founders because they can't get a job. That's a bad reason. Some founders are actually very successful who actually couldn't get a job but then became great founders. But for most people, that's not the case. They are able to get a job, but they choose to become a founder because they just feel that they're not satisfied doing just a job. They work at a faster pace. They have an exciting idea that they want to work on, which they're passionate about, and they have that energy, hustle to go through and solve every single that it will take to take this to the next level. And while yes, it is true that you have to solve every single problem, and that's very difficult. That's what makes company building really hard. But what I've realized after coming till here is that's why it's really important to choose the least amount of problem solving possible to get to your customers, right? Because if you try to build everything,
Yeah.
then you will fail.
Yeah.
Because you can't compete against large enterprises with a lot of money, right? So as a startup, it's really important to choose a very small and simple to solve that can get you to the next stage. Or you're able to raise a lot of venture capital in the beginning, and then you solve a very ambitious problem
Yeah.
which can change the world.
Yeah.
Those are the two things that you should work on, nothing in between.
Makes sense. So stay flexible and also stay consistently.
Stay flex. I mean, consistency and energy, like energy is so important for a startup founder. You are working on weekends, you're working at night, you're working throughout the day, you're working when you're sick, you're
Yeah.
working when there is
Anytime.
anything, right? And you're going to get the worst problems in the company all the time, because those are the problems no one else is able to solve, and that's why they're coming to you.
Yeah.
You're going to take the hard calls, and you have to manage your personal mental health and physical health while keeping on building the company, and that's what makes it very hard.
Yeah. Okay, so one last question. If you use 3 words to describe yourself as a founder, what the 3 words you will use?
Energetic, ambitious, patient.
It's a great combination.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Sudarshan. It's nice to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.